Welcome to Nach Simanim. I am Jacob Thomas, and today we will be learning Shmuel aleph, perek Yud Zayin. We start this perek where Bnei Yisrael is standing off with the Plishtim army, where the Plishtim send off their super human-sized warrior, Goliath, who stands there for 40 days, day and night, and saying blasphemous taunts against Bnei Yisrael, saying, you guys, you can't defeat me. And all of Bnei Yisrael, King Shaul and his whole army, are so afraid and are paralyzed, and no one goes forward to try to defeat him. So during this time, David's brothers are actually part of Shaul's army, and Yishai sends David with some food to give to his brothers. Now, David hears a few things. He first hears all of the crazy things that Goliath is saying, and he's completely outraged, saying, how can this person say these things about the Jewish people? And then he hears that the king is going to give reward to whomever can defeat Goliath. Either he'll get all these things. He'll get tax exemptions, war exemptions, the king's daughter, and a whole bunch of other great things. So he starts asking around, like, who's going to destroy it? And Eliav, David's brother, hears this and scolds him, saying, you only came here to see the war. You should go back home, you little child. And eventually, he volunteers to actually defeat Goliath, the giant. And he's brought before King Shaul, and King Shaul at first refuses him, saying, no, you can't. And David says, no, if I can destroy bears and lions with my own hands, because all I fear is God and nothing else, then who's this guy? He's just a giant. He's just a bigger version of everything else I've already defeated. If God is with me, I'll defeat him. First, he puts on the king's armor, but he's unable to walk, so he takes off the armor. So he brings his staff, his sling, and 5 smooth stones from a river. And he declares that you come with a sword, a spear, and a javelin, but I come with the name of Hashem, which is all the more powerful. Now, David takes his sling, throws it around its head. Note, sling, not slingshot, different weapons. You spin it around, and then you let go of part of one of the strings, and it slings out a stone all the way to the head of Goliath, and he falls down, dead. And the Plishtim see this, and they are stunned with fear, and they run away, leading Bnei Yisrael to win. So as a recap, we have the standoff of Goliath against Bnei Yisrael. We have the arrival of David, his questioning, then volunteering, and eventually the victory with the sling. We are in perek Yud Zayin, so we use a used car salesman. So Yud Zayin, used car salesman. David throws stones at the used car salesman because of his blasphemous prices. So we have David throwing stones. That reminds us how at the end of the perek, David threw a stone at Goliath, who has been attacking Bnei Yisrael, and he throws it at the used car salesman. That's our siman. It reminds us we're in perek Yud Zayin because of his blasphemous prices, which reminds us how Goliath was actively blaspheming all of Bnei Yisrael, saying horrible things about God and about the Jewish people, leading David to become angry and actually try to throw the stone at his head, leading him to be destroyed and Bnei Yisrael to win. And this is really the start of David being the military leader that we see him later. So one more time with the siman. David throws stones at the used car salesman because of his blasphemous prices. We're going to do a 4 perek back Chazara now. Starting with perek Yud Gimel, and we use a bar mitzvah boy. Shaul Shmuel yells at Shaul for letting the bar mitzvah boy bring the korban, even though it was his bar mitzvah. Which reminds us how Shaul was supposed to wait for 7 days for Shmuel to come to give a korban before the war, but Shaul didn't wait. On the 7th day, he gave the korban. As he was giving the second he finished the korban, Shmuel came and was very mad at him and said that he would no longer have the dynasty. Going to perek Yud Daled, which is another war, we use a juggler. The king's son juggles swords in celebration as his father makes a vow about honey, which reminds us how Yonatan was going with his arms bearer, trying to create a sneak attack on the Plishtim, killing a bunch of them, leading them to be scared and run away in chaos. And as Bnei Israel are chasing them under Shaul, Shaul makes a vow that no one should eat until they are finished. But Yonatan doesn't know of this vow and eats honey and becomes very strong, leading the Yom V'Tum to stop talking to Shaul. And then Shaul figures out that Yonatan was the one that ate and is going to kill him, but then gets bribed by the soldiers not to kill him. Going to perek Tet Vav, and we use a fruit bowl because Tet Vav, Tu Bishpat, fruit bowl. Shmuel rejects Shaul after he spared the king of fruit bowls. This reminds us how Shaul got the commandment to destroy all of Amalek. He was going to kill all of Amalek, but then spared the sheep. And King Agag, who's the king of Amalek, leading Shmuel to come to rebuke him after God told him all the things that he did wrong. And then told him that Shaul will no longer be the king anymore. Leading to perek Det Zion, and we use an acrobat with big toes. Shmuel anoints the big-toed acrobat playing the harp while he's searching for his balance ball, which reminds us how Shmuel goes to anoint a new king, who he then chooses David, who is in the second part of the perek, plays harp for Shaul, who has a lot of trauma and goes crazy. So David plays music to calm Shaul down. Now we are going to do an 8+1 question pop quiz. Which perek does Shmuel secretly anoint David? Perek Tet Zion. Which perek does David defeat Goliath? Perek Yud Zion. Which perek is Shaul officially rejected? Perek Tet Vav. Which perek does David play harp for Shaul? Perek Tet Zion. Which perek does Yonatan eat honey and break his father's oath? Perek Yud Daled. Which perek does Shaul bring the sacrifice unlawfully? Perek Yud Gimel. Which perek does Shaul spare King Agag? Perek Tet Vav. Which perek does Goliath taunt the Jewish army? Perek Yud Zion. Shoftim bonus question. In which perek does Micha hire a Levi from Beit Lechem as his priest? Perek Yud Zion. That is it for today. May we be zocha to finish all of Nach, one perek at a time, and remember it day after day. Have a wonderful day.